To all who come to this happy podcast, welcome to FreshBaked Presents, a happy place where each week we combine our imagination with our experience to discuss, challenge, and explore all things Disneyland. I am Ron Berner. This, of course, is the Mr. Fresh Baked himself, the indelible David Erickson.
What's up, Fresh Baked?
And this is FreshBaked Presents Episode 5. Thank you for joining us, where today we're going to talk Disneyland, grading Disneyland since its reopening. We'll reach into the mailbag to answer your questions, and of course, our 5 things Disney. So, David, how you doing after the weekend?
I'm doing great, Ron. I had another great weekend at Disneyland, and I'm ready for more.
I second that. I did the same exact thing. So, where are you with Disneyland since it reopened?
Well, yeah, that's pretty much all I've been doing. This sort of, post-reopening version of Fresh Baked has been all about analyzing, evaluating, watching Disneyland and seeing what they do and reporting on that. And it's given me a lot of opportunity to sort of observe and reflect and see what Disney's doing today versus what they've been, what they did, before the shutdown. So it's been, now that we've got a couple months behind us, we've got Magic Keys out there. The reservation calendar is pretty wide open. It's starting to get to the point now where we can say with some sort of confidence whether or not Disney is doing well or not, or how are people receiving Disneyland today as opposed to, let's say, when the parks first opened.
Yeah, I think it's gone well as far as the guest experience. As far as my experience, I've enjoyed the parks and I have had no reservation issues so far. How do you feel about the rides, the attractions? Does anything seem different?
Yeah, well, that's to that point. I feel like there are certain things that we can look at and we can I don't want to say measure, but rides is probably the first thing that you think about when you go to Disneyland. You want to know, how is that experience? And I would say, that is one thing that has gone exceptionally well. Prior to the shutdown, we had Fast Pass, we had our Max Pass, and there was sometimes there's difficulty getting on an attraction. But in this post reopening time, there is no Fast Pass. I would say that the ride experience, going on a Disneyland attraction, name it, is unequivocally better than it was pre shutdown. And that's, I'm not just talking about the functionality, because all the rides now are pretty much open. The only thing that's left, I think, is the monorail. Right? Is that the only thing that's still closed?
Yeah, Big Thunder went down today for refurb, but
but it was open. And for whatever it's worth, I went on Big Thunder on Sunday. It was a 10-minute walk-on, virtual walk-on, I should say. But so I would say that being at Disneyland is kind of, the word I would use is delightful, delightful. In terms of just having the ability to do the things that you want to do. There's very little that I've wanted to do that I haven't, because crowds were too big or the lines were too long or whatever. Just maybe Radiator Springs Racers is the only one that comes to mind as a difficult attraction to hit. Even now today, it was, when I looked last Sunday, it was like 75 minutes. That's a solid wait, especially with no Fast Pass. If there were Fast Pass, I can't even guess what that number would be.
And they closed down Single Rider because of staffing.
Is that right?
They did it well.
Well, that would add.
I don't want to say they closed it, but I always go Single Rider on that.
Yeah.
And the last couple of times that I talked to the cast member there, they said it's not closed. We just can't staff it at the moment.
If there's any ride in the park that is ideally suited for Single Rider, it is Radiator Springs Racers. That is the very best single rider attraction anywhere in the park.
And Matterhorn. I would say and Matterhorn because of the single file.
Yeah.
But I agree.
It's very easy to plug in that single body as opposed to some of the other attractions where it's not.
And I often end up in the car with Benjamin anyway.
Yeah. Oh, that's maybe in different rows. You're probably going to be in different rows, but you'll be in the car. Yeah. You'll both be on the right side. One in the front, in the passenger seat and one in the back riding shotgun.
Yep.
But yeah, I would say that is definitely a win. If I were to give it a grade, I would say a solid B+ on attractions. The only thing that I would knock them on is they still haven't figured out some rides in terms of keeping it going. Indiana Jones is still down way too much. Rise of the Resistance is down for an hour or two every single day. Yep. And you still can only get on that thing via virtual queue. They need a standby or some other secondary means of getting on to Rise of the Resistance. But that was a problem, before the shutdown anyway. But otherwise, I mean, it's been a breeze. I've really enjoyed going on attractions, post shutdown.
I could not agree more. I have said to anyone who will listen that it's been my best park experiences over the last couple of months. Because we've long joked about dominating. Benjamin and I, Champ and I, have domination days, and there's no fast pass or max pass, so we wanted to just see. Let's do it, just to see what we can see. And we're just blown away on how easy it is to wipe out both parks for the most part. And I attribute that, though, it's been amazing. The experiences have been great. We've done things we never do, like the canoes, things like that. But just because the park is so easily navigational right now, and I feel like that's it's just a numbers game in my head, because I was talking about it with him and with others. It's like I just think the parks are just the attendance is low right now. I know it was certainly pre Magic Key Pass, because everybody wanted to wait to upgrade, and that trickling effect seems like it's still taking into effect, because I don't find that the pathways are even remotely close to as busy as they used to be. So common sense would lead you to believe that the ride attractions, the queues, the wait times are also going to be a reflection of that and be lighter, and they have been. So the experience just to go to the parks has been unbelievable. Outside of that, I don't know that that's actually a good thing, because Disney's certainly not putting a limit or a governor on who's going to the parks. That just means people aren't actually going right now to fill the aisles and the pathways and the queues. So that's another interesting question. How do you feel about that?
Well, I wish we did know, what the governor is at, because they don't make that public. So, but I do think that they are still putting limits on attendance. I just don't know what that number is. I only hear secondhand information on that, but I think that's a large part due to them just not being able. They can't turn it up. They can't, because they don't have the staff. So
I don't know. I mean, I think in theory that sounds like the case. I just have a hard time believing it, because you can go to. I haven't seen a day where you can't just go to Disneyland.
Were you talking about reservations or?
Yeah, last Saturday was the only day I saw in a month.
That was sold out?
That you couldn't get a reservation, even if you had a ticket.
Well, if you just wait a couple days, or wait a little bit, it'll open up too. So I've had that happen to me twice now, where I've wanted a day, and it wasn't available to me when I looked the first time, but when I went back and looked, it was there.
Right. So, and do you think that's people canceling? No, that's them opening the floodgates.
Yes, that's Disney. That's Disney moving reservations from one bucket to another.
For sure.
Yeah.
That is interesting. It's going to change. The crowds will come back, whether Disney's like limiting them or not. They're going to come back. I would think. And this goes back to what we discussed ad nauseum for weeks and months, is I don't see the reservation system being a problem ever. I just don't. I'm going to die on that hill.
Well, it's again, you got to think about the filter through which you are observing that, because I would agree it hasn't been a problem for me. But I think that you and I we kind of go either alone or with just one other person, and that's that's much more easily negotiated than, let's say, a family of 5, or friends all getting together and trying to make like if 4 or 5 friends are trying to get together to go on the same day. That gets a little bit more complicated, and the reservations is almost which is going to be probably a topic for a video I do this week. People just saying screw it, I don't even bother. I'll come back to me, Disney, when reservations are over. That's a conversation that's being had, I think, for people who are trying to get together, or families, as it were.
Well, are you saying because they have different tiered Magic Key Passes?
No, it's just that it's getting people organized and having each person having to go through the website and book a reservation. Then you got to call up your friend and, hey, look, okay, can you guys do this day or that day, or this day's open, that kind of thing. Getting everybody coordinated, and it's to the point now where you can't. Normally, you didn't have to do that. You would just say, hey, let's go to Disneyland. Everybody does their own thing, and they just drive there and meet at the gate. But now you got everybody having to go make the reservations, and it is just the one step, but it's a step that just, for some, not everybody, I'm not saying this is the truth, because obviously it doesn't apply to you or me, but for some, it's enough for them to just say, screw it.
Right. And again, it's an obstacle. It's a hurdle. And obstacles and hurdles in marketing 101 is remove obstacles. Make it easy. Make it as easy as possible. So
reservations are an enormous obstacle.
They are an enormous obstacle. And I know that the original fear, that's a good point that you make. I hadn't thought about it when it comes to that because, people don't want to deal with, like, when it's an organized group. Some people won't even respond to a text for like 7 hours, which is aggravating as heck. So how are you going to get them to also make sure that they get their pass and then find out that they don't? And to that point, your group of friends, for example, likely would have different tiers, and the tiers differences are significant when it comes to the weekends. They really are. Even Benjamin. So I'm buying him the highest level pass he could possibly get, and there's no reason for me to do that other than the fact is I go to Disneyland on Saturday, and Disneyland's not going to stop me from doing that. So what did they do? They upsold my son, who doesn't need that pass at all, but they blocked all the Saturdays. So I'm paying the highest level for 2 passes when, in theory, I really only need one of them for all the benefits.
That's been me for years.
Right. That is a very interesting element. I was thinking originally with the reservation system is that one concern that could have presented itself, and I don't even think that's going to be the case, is I've mentioned previously, I've gone to Disneyland, I know you have as well, just for an evening dinner or the fireworks, just something, it could be romantic or it could just be for fun. It could just be whatever, where you just show up to the parks at the end of the day, at the end of the night, for a short period of time, or even in the middle of the day for that matter. But that was an issue that I thought potentially could be an obstacle for 5 minutes. I thought that. And then, like you said, you can just keep checking the app. And then those spontaneous drop-ins look to me like they're going to be a non-issue as well. During the week,
it's not an issue, but during the weekend, it will be. I've only had one occasion where I needed to do that, and that was on a Wednesday night, I think it was, and we walked on. There was no problem at all going. We got a reservation at 6:00 in the evening for that day. But the weekends are another story.
Yeah, they are. I know. I did notice that it was a holiday weekend, but I did notice, and the only reason I noticed is because I haven't gone to the park with Champ. Since the Magic Key Pass happened. So I went one time and I upgraded mine, but he wasn't with me, so I didn't upgrade his until he uses his tickets. You have to use your park ticket.
You have to be in the park.
You have to, once you scan your park ticket, it automatically appears in the app and you can upgrade then. But you don't upgrade then, you upgrade at the end of the day, so that way you can still go park to park. Otherwise you might cause yourself to not have a reservation, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, you have to do the upgrade. He hasn't gone with me yet, and I wanted to go Saturday, so I had reservation to go Saturday. But his single ticket, I wasn't thinking, and I just didn't schedule him like a couple weeks ago or whatever. And when I went to look, I'm like, well, I'll be there. I finally seen a day where I can't just use a regular full price ticket to get in. What about food, David? Have you noticed any differences since the parks reopened as it pertains to food?
Yeah, definitely. And to that point, one of the things that I would caution people when having this kind of conversation is that for a lot of us, we are looking at Disneyland and looking for things that aren't right. Looking for reasons to complain or saying, hey, this is not the way it was. This is not how I remember it. And my objective in having this conversation is to be objective and to not look at it as an opportunity to complain, as it were. But having said that, food is a problem. Food has been a problem in the parks. It's gotten better, but at the outset there was not enough food. Limited menus across the board, and that had a lot to do with the fact that they just didn't have staff to make the food. They couldn't have a wide variety of things on the menu. But beyond that, you have the issues with mobile order for they're kind of addressing that now a little bit, but there's still a problem. They're putting far too much emphasis on mobile order, and not enough emphasis on standby. You were going to say
too much emphasis. They're putting 100% of the emphasis on mobile order, and I want you to continue. But a quick sidebar: Champ and I love going to Gibson Girl. At the end of the day, I want to just reward him. I give him Gibson Girl. I say I give it to him, but I really want it. But my phone was dead. I was doing whatever park stuff all day long. They were 100% reliant on the mobile phone and mobile order. We went to Gibson Girl. 0 people inside, a cast member standing at the door. I could not enter because I didn't place a mobile order.
Yep.
And I'm saying there's nobody in there. I cannot go buy an ice cream for my son. And of course, I was having a very good conversation with her. The cast member is a sweetheart. She's like, yeah, it has to be through the mobile order. I'm like, tell me there's not a problem there. Disney doesn't want that. Disney just certainly doesn't want that.
Well, they're not doing that anymore. That was a thing for a while, yes. But you can get in standby at Gibson Girl now. Having said that, it still takes way too long to go standby because let's just say a given dining location has 4 windows, where you can go up and place an order, or there used to, what used to be windows to go up and place an order. Well, in some locations, 3 of those are now dedicated to just picking up mobile orders, and there's only 1 window available to guests who just want to walk in and place an order. And when it comes to things like Gibson Girl or treats, your mind is set like, I'm going to get that now. I want a snack now. I want a Dole Whip now. I don't want a Dole Whip in 2 hours. I want a Dole Whip now. There is no concept to me, this idea of me planning to get a Dole Whip. I don't want to plan a Dole Whip. I think I've said something before on this topic. It is the antithesis of how that experience should be. Want Dole Whip, get Dole Whip is the process, and that's the only process there should be. So I still feel like that they're screwing that up. Now it's gotten better. Like Bengal Barbecue was a 3-to-1, 3 windows for mobile, 1 for standby. Last time I was there, I think it was 2 and 2 now. And I've seen them open up a couple extra windows here and there. Galactic Grill had an extra standby window last time I was there. But they have taken this whole thing with mobile order. They have taken so much of the pleasure. And by the way, standing in line for something to eat is part of the experience. It is pleasurable, in my opinion, anticipation and that kind of thing. When I mobile order something, I don't go out and do fun things. I wait for my app to turn blue like everybody else because I don't want to waste any time, getting to my food, getting to whatever it is I want. So I'm gonna, when I got to Bengal last weekend, I stood in front of Bengal Barbecue for 20 minutes waiting for my phone to turn blue.
Not exactly what I was just gonna say. So when I do the trick. I'm here. Yeah. So I'll be in Disneyland that I already ordered because most of our meals are actually at DCA by the time we get there, like 2:00 in the afternoon. So 2:00 in the afternoon, I have an adult beverage and food ordered at usually Grizzly's Peak, and it ends up being, or Smoke Jumpers, I should say. It ends up being I say. Especially there, maybe it's there, and Pim Kitchen's been bad as well. Yeah. But I say I'm there, and I walk from Disneyland.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And I get there, and it's still not purple, and I'm standing out in front of that thing forever waiting for it to turn purple.
What are you going to do? Are you going to go do something? You're not going to do nothing.
Right. Well, then when it finally turns purple, then you're 4 or 5 deep inside, and you're there for another 10 or 15 minutes. And that is absolutely mind-boggling. Actually, I know that they're under so much pressure in their work. Like again, it's the system, it's not the people, because they are busting their tails to pump out the food. You can see them, and you feel sorry for them, and they're just going as fast as they can. But the food's been pre-ordered, and it says that it's prepped and ready. Like, how is there not a better system to if it's prepped and ready and sitting there to be handed to somebody? Why is that process take forever? I don't get that. I know they're working on it. It'll get better. It'll improve. The standbys will come back, and that just inherently will make the whole process better, I would think. But until then, that's the one kind of complaint I'm going to have, and that's where you don't mess with people. Standing in line for an attraction is one thing. You don't mess with their food, and don't tell me it's here and then not give it to me for 20 minutes.
Especially when we have been groomed since birth to expect food quickly. Right. Like that is the agreement. So much of food is about how timely it is. Food has to be timely, and nobody likes waiting for food.
No, it's not fair. It's not fair, and especially the youngsters, and it causes problems. It causes friction, and it trickles. You don't want that energy in your park.
They don't mind. I'll tell you this distinction: they don't mind waiting in line to order the food. That's different. It's
100%.
It's when you've asked for the food and then it takes forever.
Right. I totally agree with that. I have no problem with any of that. It's solely based on the fact that you're telling me my food is ready, and I'm saying, okay, I'm here to get it. And you're saying, well, hold on. About that. What about entertainment? And just guest experience in general, or the entertainment changes since the new Disneyland, we'll call it?
I mean, we got the Disneyland band. We got Mickey's Mix Magic. We got a few days now of the Dapper Dans. And that's about it. Entertainment is, Mickey the Magical Map, canceled. Pixar Play Parade, canceled. Frozen Show, canceled. We're not talking about they're not happening because of COVID. I mean, they have flat out canceled these shows. They don't exist anymore. I've been sitting here like an idiot waiting for Mickey the Magical Map, and I was reminded the other day, no, dude, it's canceled. There is no such thing as Mickey Mixed Magical Map is what I'm trying to say. So there is a huge hole where live entertainment should be. We've no parades. Like I said, we got a poor man's fireworks show. No World of Color. No Phantasmic. Huge hole where entertainment should be, and for that, I would say that's a D- in my opinion. If you're going to grade entertainment in the park, and that's a big problem. Yeah,
I mean, it's a clear void that none of that stuff is there. Not to mention characters. I feel like I always tend to think that they know what they're doing on some level. So it's a conscious decision to have that huge of a void currently. But what does that mean? Does that mean it's just going to slowly roll back and no big deal, or do they have something planned?
This isn't a situation where I would necessarily blame Disney. I mean, there is some. In some ways, it is them, but in other ways, they don't. Again, this is a cast issue. They don't, especially performers. They're so short on actual performers. The performers aren't here and ready to perform, and that's something that could be considered out of their control. On the other hand, try harder.
Yeah, well, what I was going to say is interesting that you gave them a benefit of the doubt, and I usually give them a benefit of the doubt for everything. I was thinking, if you're going to cut costs, you cut union costs, and performers are far more expensive. That's their most expensive cast members. Yep. So they can use, I'm not saying that they're doing this in any way, shape, or form. I'm just saying it could also be true that they know that they're coming to a reopening park that cannot have the type of crowds and the type of bundling together of people, for social distancing purposes. So we can shut down having the shows, the entertainers, the parades. We can keep that at a premium. We can do construction at Fantasy Theater. Yeah. We can do whatever we need to do, and then when we bring them back, at a time when we can open 100%, and we can now, at that time pay them the union rates. So I don't know.
That's an answer to a lot of questions, is to pay them. Whatever, because that's the situation they're in today. They need to pay them.
Yeah, they need to pay them. I guess I get it if they want to limit the entertainment, but also they've done it to a point where it's such a huge absence. That void in entertainment is, you can feel that energy like throughout the park. When I'm walking the park, and you are, like, it definitely feels noticeably lighter, certainly with the crowds, but you can also feel that outside noise, like the Dapper Dance. Sometimes you don't have to stand and watch them, but you can hear them there, or you can hear
want to hear them.
You can hear them in the distance, and those type of things certainly adds adds to it. And it's a funny point is I hadn't noticed. I wonder if they're still. Nah, I'm sure they are. I was going to say I wonder if they're still pumping in the smells. You know, when you walk down Main Street.
I think so.
I'm sure they are because she's still going to buy food. But in my head, I'm thinking, and I don't think that costs them much. But interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the entertainment element, the parades coming back will be one massive thing. And not to mention, parades, Fantasmic. World of Color's been down for so long, it'll feel like a new attraction when it comes back to our new entertainment show. But Fantasmic and the parades and a full fireworks show, I mean, that is in some ways the backbone of Disney entertainment, and they're nowhere to be found, and they're nowhere in sight.
Disneyland is not the same place without Fantasmic or a parade. It's just not the same.
It is not the same.
I know that we have a parade. That the Christmas parade is they're rehearsing for that, and we know that we're getting a Halloween parade already. So it's not like these things are gone. But to this point, I feel like we should have had a parade already. But I mean, what do I know? I don't know how hard it is to run a theme park. So I make that statement a lot because people. They want to have comments and they have opinions about these things, these kind of things. And my go-to response is always, I have no idea. I have no idea how hard it is to get all those things connected. I just know that Disneyland is less than it should be without them. And especially something like Fantasmic. Fantasmic puts in so much energy in the park at night on that side of the park. I walk through Fantasmic even at as early as like 5 or 6 p.m. That's when the people start getting ready. They're queuing up a little bit because it's Fast Pass. It was Fast Pass before they closed, but the energy and the anticipation starts to build towards these things. You walk down Main Street at 6 o'clock and you can see the people sitting on the curb and they're getting 100%. Their ice cream, and it's just kind of like, what is this? What's going to happen? That's right, parades, Fantasmic.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that, but you said it. Think about the things that we take for granted that is missing that we may or may not notice, but you just took the words right out of my mouth. All the people and the families and people getting their rest, sitting on the curbs, waiting for the parades. That's a fun, seeing that, even if you're just walking down Main Street, just walking away, just seeing people start to do that a couple hours before the parade is so fun. That it makes you happy, right? It's a cool thing to see. Anything else on New Disneyland before we move on, David? Anything that we haven't touched on?
Well, just the overall guest experience. I think we touched on some of the main measurables: the rides, the entertainment, the food. But the last thing is how we feel in general, and we kind of talked about that throughout each of these topics. And the entertainment does flow perfectly into that conversation because. I still feel great when I start my day in the morning. I'm walking down Main Street and I'm going on a vehicle, or I'm at the hub or something like that. I feel it feels perfectly Disney. That those moments still feel really great. And the rides are still good, and the cast members are still amazing. That has never changed for me. But there are still holes. There are holes in the experience as you walk throughout the park, and I kind of feel like up until now that Disney's sort of they've been resting on they've banked a lot of goodwill, a lot of equity with guests, and saying how we feel about Disneyland. And the longer that we go without, because it's starting to we're starting to remember what are those things that are missing, like we just talked about the certain things that aren't happening. And the more time we go through this, and we're going to feel less that way as time goes on. It's something that may not be noticed by the visitor who goes once a year, or twice a year. Whereas, if we're going every week or whatever, every 10 days, it becomes more obvious. They do need, hopefully soon, thank goodness for the Halloween season, that seemed to pump a lot of energy into the park, and because there's new shows, there's we know that the anticipation of new events happening. You've got additional things to look forward to. The Dapper Dance, for example. The food has, the Halloween season infuses more food variety. Yeah, I was getting kind of bored with the food at Disneyland, leading up to the Halloween season, and now we get more creative, and that's great. and that's going to continue through the holiday season. I just want to make sure that that we hopefully we get that new food coming in throughout the year after the new year and all that as well. I want to say that even though the guest experience has been less than, I do feel like, having been to the park this last weekend, the Labor Day weekend and the first weekend of the holiday season, that we've turned a corner. We've turned a corner on the guest experience, and that by the time, if we were to have this conversation again after Christmas, I feel like we're going to be, if not 100% close to it in terms of the overall guest experience, assuming Disney keeps going in this direction.
Yeah, I don't really have much to add to that. I second that. I think there's light at the end of the tunnel. Things are coming. I think they might be, in addition to using the opportunity to penny pinch a little bit, if you will. I still think that they're seizing the opportunity for some sort of a grand coming back full throttle once they know that they can come back. And I think that the entertainment is going to be high level. The energy in the parks is just going to go through the roof, and definitely I don't know. I feel like just the parades alone are just going to really, really start to get people piling in. So that puts a button on that for now, anyways.
Okay.
I do think that this week in Disney history is actually a lot of exciting things that for me that I find very interesting that I want to share with FreshBaked community and share with David. Just things that I find interesting, that warm my heart, things that are just fun. They're just really fun things that happen at Disneyland. And some of them not so fun. Because David, in September 9th of 1973, the General Electric Carousel of Progress closed. This attraction was a 64 New York World's Fair is where it previewed. Guests stayed in their seats, and outer 6 theaters moved around this circular contraption. So basically, when guests entered one area, they would enter a different one. Audio animatronics were in each of them, so there was just nothing but taking you through the time and passage of time historically. And it was a huge hit at the New York World Fair. So Walt actually transplanted the entire thing into Disneyland to highlight Tomorrowland, which was the new concept of Tomorrowland that was coming. So Walt never did see it because he passed in 66 and it didn't open until 67. It lasted for about 6 years in Disneyland, and the Carousel of Progress was closed permanently in 73. This week also, the Country Bear Jamboree closed in Bear Country. Remember Bear Country?
Yeah, that used to be Bear Country.
That's right. The Country Bear Jamboree opened as the centerpiece of Bear Country back in 72. This was also, I didn't know this was the first Disneyland attraction that was cloned from Walt Disney World.
Really?
Trivia. I did not know that. Interesting. But it's significant, and it's as of one of Walt's final projects. He had planned something called Mineral King, a mountain resort for a site in Sequoia National Forest. Walt was confident guests would enjoy skiing and hiking and all the daytime outdoor activities. But he was concerned that guests were going to leave in the evening without sticking around, spending their money, ordering food. They would just be gone. He needed something to get them to stay. So he had Mark Davis, well-known Imagineer, come up with ideas to keep people to stay in the park. So lots and lots of bears was basically the concept, and that's exactly what Mark Davis brought. So they stuck around until 2001.
I did not know that.
Yeah, interesting, right? Another closure, sadly. Maybe a little lesser known, the Viewliner closed September 15th, 1958. The Viewliner Train of Tomorrow was called. It was basically a narrow gauge miniature train that operated alongside certain parts of the Disneyland Railroad.
Yeah, very strange.
Yeah, right. It was the Disneyland as the fastest miniature train in the world is how they dubbed it, and they closed it to make way for more trivia. That went away in 1958. to make way for David.
Monorail.
Actually, close. The Matterhorn and the submarine voyage. So.
Oh.
Monorail was a part of that area. In its 15th months of operational life, it did carry 1.5 million passengers. More sad news, and it just happened to be what happened this week, but I'm going to get to the fun part that is coming. But more sad news, Elias Charles Disney, the father of 5, Walt and Roy, of course, being the 2 most well-known of them, died after surgery at the age of 82 in 1941, which was only 3 years after they had lost their mother, Flora. Elias loved his family and was under pressure, under financial pressure, so sometimes he gets dubbed as being a little bit of a grumpy, contagious old
that's
man.
his rep.
That's his rep, but he was a family man, and he just busted his butt trying to bring everything to his family and teach him the principles. Walt said at the time his father passed, and I love any time I can find a Walt quote because it just, warms your heart. I adored my dad because he always set very high standards for his children. He desired for each one of us to be successful. And another fun trivia fact, Elias married Flora on January 1st, 1888 in Kismet, Florida. Kismet is 50 miles away from where Walt Disney World would eventually be built. Now, for something really, really fun. September 11th, 1968, in Marceline, Missouri, the United States Postal Service issues a 6-cent postage stamp, the very first one honoring Walt Disney. And it's fun because I knew about the stamp and I saw that this was the date that it took place on. So, of course, I did a little diving in, a little digging, a little research. And what I found was awesome. Disney's passing generated many global tributes, as you could expect. He was, worldwide known. So different countries did many different things for him. But the most telling accolade did come from the United States. After many encouraging efforts, the United States Postal Service issued a stamp in Walt's honor less than 2 years following his death. And that's significant because the policy of the post office was, at the time anyway, that any individual other than a president must be dead for 10 years before they can even be considered for a postage stamp. Walt got his in 2 years. And it was through tireless efforts from then Governor Ronald Reagan, California Governor, I should say, Ronald Reagan, a host of congressmen and senators, Postmaster General Lawrence O'Brien relented in the case of Walt Disney and allowed Walt's commemorative stamp to be issued on September 11th, 1968. On the first day of issue, is the post office practice, which they've been doing since 1930, is to place a commemorative postage stamp on the first day of issuance to be sold in any particular city which had some significance to the person or event being commemorated, before releasing the stamp for nationwide use the very next day. Of course, the ceremony took place in Marceline, Missouri. In a letter written September 15th, 1960, and now enclosed in the cornerstone of Marceline's elementary school bearing his name, Walt Disney wrote, "Through the fleeting years of maturity, I am always able to relive many joyous moments from the experiences of my early boyhood in Marceline. I hope the youth of today and the future will know a childhood as happy as was mine in Marceline." And that warmed my heart.
They don't make him like Walt no more.
They really don't. His quotes, I love them so much. I love reading him. I have so many books. I know you as well. Documentaries and books, and then stuff like that. I knew only of the stamp. I did not know of the story, and I'm grateful for the podcast and causing me to do research into things. So that's that. So now let's pay it back to our loyal FreshBaked Presents. I said Fesh. Fesh is not a word. FreshBaked Presents community with a mailbag.
Okay.
And David, question
Yes.
number 1 from Paul Harms 1019. Will they ever make another classic dark ride like Snow White or Peter Pan?
If by like small, or I mean Peter Pan or Snow White, if by that you mean small, like the really quaint style dark ride, no, I don't think so. Disney has forgotten how to make a small pea-sized attraction in a small space. They will make dark rides again, i.e. Little Mermaid, but look at the show building. You could fit 4 Toads in the Little Mermaid building, and that was, 15 years ago? I don't even know how long, 10 years ago. No, not even 15, like not even 10, but you get my point. No, I don't think so, because I don't think they know how anymore. They expect that we expect for them to make bigger and better, and I don't know. I guess I can't speak for everybody, but I like small. I'm good with Toads. I wish they would.
Yeah. I wish they would too, and I don't think they're going to for many of those same reasons. I think it's bigger and better because, like, new and improved, so to speak. Just wanting those of us that go frequently love the dark rides and the smaller dark rides and would certainly welcome them. It's the destination location people that they're probably not there, at least in their minds, they're saying they don't want to see that type of stuff, so we're not going to do it. And if the small intimate dark rides, I don't see happening either at all. A dark ride in terms of, like you just mentioned, as well as maybe Beauty and the Beast, things like that.
Yeah.
But it's going to be bigger and better and grander. Yep. And even the dark rides that they have, other than Toads, which they better not touch, they've even upgraded those to the point. So I don't see that happening anytime. Unless it's a children's ride at Disneyland Forward, like it might be a small children's ride that's along the lines of the choo-choos.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping for out of Disneyland Forward, but we'll see.
Yeah. Dan, thank you for the question, Paul Harms. Dan, who is at Hoops fan, asks us, if you had to choose, would you rather the parks invest in new e-ticket attractions or entertainment?
Can I just say, e-tickets are overrated. I get it, and if they build one, I'm going to go on it, and I'm going to cover it like a mad dog because, I'm a Disney news site. But I don't, again, I'm probably not speaking for everybody because people do, the general public out there is enamored with e-tickets, and everybody's like, when's the next e-ticket coming and where's it at? But I do feel like there's something to be said for, a different kind of experience. So I do hope that Disney does continue to invest in entertainment. Having said that, again, and I hate to be a downer in these conversations because I feel like I do this on almost every mailbag, because I think the reason is because people are interested in those things and they're queuing us up for this. If they're going in any direction, they're cutting entertainment and not growing it. Look at all the entertainment that has been cut over the past few years and not returned. Jedi Training Academy, the Hook and Ladder Company, the Newsboys, the DCA, Magical Map, Frozen. These are all gone. You were going to say?
They are. I agree with that. I think that their entertainment is coming. I don't think they're gonna shut the door on it. Even though those things did close, I feel like they closed for a different reason. Like I almost want to blame Jedi Academy. Show wasn't that great to begin with, but that's a casualty of Tomorrowland, like so many things are over there.
Well, if I may, before you continue, I would consider that argument if they were replaced with something else. But none of those experiences, none of those acts or shows were replaced with anything else. They're just gone. Yeah,
they are. I don't know if that had to. Yeah, that might get back into the union stuff as well, where where they had a couple guys singing on a trolley, and now those guys are in a union, and now that a whole team of them is 20 union members. That it doesn't matter how long they get perform, they get paid for the day, and gets expensive and that kind of stuff. I'm optimistic when it comes to entertainment returning, even though you make great points. So those things closing and not returning without anything else to replace them, I feel like entertainment is the essence of Disneyland. It's at the soul of Disneyland. So to not have those little subtle shows all over the place, like the Army Green Men, the trolley car, the Dapper Dans, like just more of those type of things. It feels like such a crime on humanity.
The Golden Horseshoe, Ron.
The Golden Horseshoe, yeah.
There's nothing in there. Nothing.
Isn't that certainly coming back though? I mean, I can't imagine.
I don't know. Maybe.
Well, what about that whole minute of magician and
gone?
Yeah, I know exactly.
He was there for a minute. The dueling pianos.
The dueling pianos. Right. I do think the Golden Horseshoe is coming. Something's coming back in there. I mean, that's. Yeah. It is interesting. There's certainly a lot of changes. The winds have changed dramatically, and it'll be fun to see what comes back. I am optimistic that they have a plan. Although again, they're going through a regime change, so the wholesale changes are on some level will be taking place. So, but I like to think that something is coming. Like they're not just going to eliminate things. They're not just down to the bare bones saying, okay, where can we cut costs? They're just not in that. That's not their model, really. They shouldn't be anyway. It's Disneyland. It's a complete antithesis of that.
You say that, but I think they are exactly in that mode.
Well, I think they're in that mode right now. We're still within the first year of a new CEO taking over a global organization. Like I feel like I don't know. I'm thinking that entertainment is the essence of Disneyland, and at some point, entertainment needs to return. And not only does it need to return, it needs to return better. Give us what we had and give us new things better. All right, David, we can do another one quickly. And I will reiterate to those who have submitted their questions. I always have 6 or 7 queued up. And if you don't make it this week, almost certainly going to make it next week because I have you queued up. And those who have submitted that didn't get read, please submit again, and I see them, I read them all, we both do, and I scan them, I put them on a sheet, and we break it down and what's going to go into the show. So please submit, and thank you for all those who have.
Agreed.
David, let me see. This is from Ryan Thomas at Gumby5150. If Princess and the Frog becomes part of New Orleans Square, do you think there would be a space to add Zootopia as part of Critter Country?
Well, first of all, I would say there's no chance whatsoever that Princess and the Frog doesn't become part of New Orleans Square because it literally takes place in New Orleans. That would be crazy to not make that. But that does beg the question, okay, you've taken now half of Critter Country if you take Splash Mountain, because that is, at least half. But you can't. That doesn't mean the space is now available. The space is still occupied. So if anything, I would think it more likely for New Orleans Square to consume all of Critter Country and become one giant land, as opposed to Critter Country and New Orleans Square. No, there is no more space for Zootopia unless they reconfigure things to connect with Disneyland Forward. Because if you'll recall, the space for Disneyland Forward on the Disneyland side actually does connect. You actually would access the Disneyland Forward section through Critter Country. That back gate back there where you see Winnie the Pooh and Tigger come out of, that's the point at which you would cross the street to go to Disneyland Forward. So that's a possibility, I guess. There's no way of knowing, but if that's one way they could do it. But to my mind, I think the most logical thing is for them to actually retheme all of Critter Country to New Orleans Square, because it makes no sense to keep Critter Country as is if it's just a dark ride and Hungry Bear.
Right. I am a protector of Winnie the Pooh. So,
I know you are.
So I say that if Critter Country, if they can't figure out a way to make Critter Country make sense, and I agree, New Orleans Square is certainly going to be Princess and the Frog. But if Critter Country, if it makes more sense to lose it entirely, then call it Pooh Corner. Like I don't know, maybe retheme Hungry Bear to something that fits. I'm not sure that Critter Country doesn't still fit, and I don't like the idea of losing a land or losing an area. It already was Bear Country. That's already now become Critter Country, which we touched on earlier. I don't like that idea of just saying, let's let New Orleans Square have it. I would rather, if Critter Country doesn't work, call it Pooh Corner. As far as Zootopia specifically is concerned, I don't know why this is in my head. I'm not an overly intelligent guy, but I either read this or made this up in my head because Zootopia is already in DCA. I thought I feel like Zootopia is a DCA destination. It never registered for me, or I never read and thought of it being in Critter Country. Although it would make sense, especially with, to your point, the Disneyland Forward, because now that that's opening, that kind of gives an extension, if you will, of Pooh Corner or of Critter Country, at least in the preliminary area. Even though I know it's not a park, but I don't know. It is interesting because, very specifically, because of that being the portal from Disneyland Forward into the park.
Well, as a protector of Winnie the Pooh, I don't have confidence in your.
I'm telling you right now. Here's another hill I'm going on, and you can print it and fold it into a swan. Winnie the Pooh is not. It's not going to lose representation. It's one of Disney's most valuable properties, and I just feel that it would be. I know people don't like the ride or this or that or whatever. It just feels.
No, it's a fine ride, but I don't think it resonates with the rest of the public as it does with you. So that's why I'm like, I'm worried for you.
Oh, no, I disagree, because how could it be their number one revenue generator if it doesn't resonate with the public?
I'm just saying. I don't feel like people are like, hey, we need more Winnie the Pooh represented in the park. I have never heard that once. So.
Oh no, I'm not saying that either. I'm saying Disney.
As a matter of fact,
that is true.
People are upset that Winnie the Pooh kicked out the Country Bears. People are upset that Winnie the Pooh kicked out Mr. Toads. Winnie the Pooh is a villain in the eyes of many fans.
In the eyes of park hoppers.
Yeah.
Right. I still think when your bread is buttered handsomely by one thing, it should have representation. But also, the ride can certainly go away, and something new could come in there that would fit. But I don't want it to be New Orleans Square. I don't want New Orleans Square just to take over something else that exists.
Well, they've already done that. They've done that by committing half of the land to New Orleans Square already. So
they haven't done it yet because it's still a Critter Country. But I know what you're saying. I mean,
it's as good as done.
Yeah. All right, so fine. So we have So now we have, and Tomorrowland is as good as done. But we have Tomorrowland, Adventureland, Fantasyland, Frontierland, and I know Main Street's a land, but we're just
the best land. Thank you.
We're eliminated. Yeah, I don't know. Just seems like a curious decision. But anyway, we need to move on. Thank you for the questions. Favorite 5 non-dessert snacks.
Oh, are we doing 5 things?
Favorite 5 Disneyland things. Or no, 5 things Disneyland. And today's topic, favorite 5 non-dessert snacks.
Okay, I'll start again. And one of my favorite things to eat anywhere is a loaded baked potato with cheddar cheese and bacon bits. And you can get one at Disneyland at the Troubadour if it were open. But if the Troubadour is open, I highly encourage people to go down there and find themselves a loaded baked potato, because that is one of my favorite we're doing savory, right? That's one of my favorite savory treats at Disneyland.
I've never had it. But I absolutely love stuffed baked potatoes, loaded baked potatoes. So I have no doubts that I would love that.
You should try it.
I would try it. I don't eat a lot in the parks. I don't eat a lot in general, but I don't eat a lot in the parks. Interestingly enough, but my number 5 is the chili con queso. Quick, easy, and I think they're delicious. I know you hate them, but I think they're fantastic.
You're right. I'm not a fan.
If you're going to give me my food in a container that I can also eat, I'm signing up for it.
But it's so much bread, though.
What are you talking about? It's the same as a pretzel.
I don't know. I can't. If it tasted like a pretzel, then I guess it would be.
It is a pretzel.
Is it really? I don't know.
Yes. It is the pretzel, though. The pretzel. That's what I'm saying. So you could put mac and cheese. You could put mac and cheese in there, or you could put chili in there, and I just have them mix it and order it that way, and then it's in my thing, so I can eat it with a spoon or a fork, and then I eat my pretzel with the extra stuff in there. I think they're great.
I'd probably like it more if it was shaped like a pretzel that came with mustard and salt and didn't have chili on it.
Yeah, well, you can get mac and cheese. You like to
Or
combat
whatever.
me. I've noticed in every one of these segments, you like to combat me and then bring it up later. Like
Whatever.
how I'm so evil for having an opinion that differs from yours.
I'm not saying you're evil. I just think you're not correct. That's all.
Number 4, mouth.
Number 4, I'm gonna go basic, simple, and my wife has got me on this bandwagon. It's a pickle, a Disneyland pickle. A pickle and a Coke is perfect for me because you get the salty and you get the sweet, and it's perfect. And there's something about a Disneyland pickle that's different from a regular pickle. Plus, they got this. You can get different flavors. You can get a spicy. And they're fun and easy to eat, and it's a nice twist. It's a different alternative than the usual treats at Disneyland.
Disneyland's pickle is an alternative treat for sure.
Yeah.
And they have the different spices and the size of them.
Yeah.
There's too much bread in a cone, but there's not too much pickle in one
Nope.
of those things because they're footballs, man. Those are football pickles. But they're good. The spicy one is good. Well, they're all good. For me, corn dog. Number 4, corn dog and mustard is great. I always get it from the truck. You can get it from Corn Dog Castle as well.
They're all good.
They're all good. I something about going to the little truck.
I know, right?
I like doing.
It's very Disney.
I just do. And it's great. I love it.
I
will say this: they're all the same, but I'll say this: the corn dog from the truck is, to me, I don't know, it might be in my head or it might be my experience, is better than Stage Door Cafe. I don't know why.
It's the experience. It's the experience. Sure. I can't argue with that, although I can say that they are the same corn dog. But
Theoretically, they're the same. Theoretically, they're the same.
But it is different.
When I eat them, they don't taste the same.
I would have put corn dogs on my list, but that's a meal for me. That's not a treat. I can't. Those things are so big. I can't even. That's lunch. All right, my number 3 is a new addition, and I almost forgot about this because there's not a lot of savory treats. Disney almost is like full on. It's mostly sweets, so you have to kind of hunt for the savory. But I don't know if I can pronounce this correctly. The bulgogi beef bao at Tropical Hideaway that was new. They had just introduced that a few months before the park shut down. And the first time I had that, I was like, "Holy cow, this is fantastic!" I'd never really had a beef bao like that before, and with the sauce that it comes with, it is a great snack. You get that, and maybe you get yourself a Dole Whip or something like that, and you've got something.
Yeah, those are good. And a Dole Whip is the reason I put non-dessert snacks specifically, because I felt like beignets, churros,
right.
Dole Whip, our top five, 3 of them everybody already knows because
right?
Of course, why would they not be on there?
Of course.
So I had to get a little creative and try to keep some things off the list. So I did this as 5 non-dessert snacks, and to me, I know all of these are meals essentially. In a roundabout way, they're gonna tidy you over. So my number 3 is the Ronto Roaster. I love it.
That's good.
In theory, when I heard it was coming out, I'm like, I'll probably like that. Like there's no reason that I wouldn't like it. And then I ate the very first one, and I'm like, this is sneaky great. It's really good. The combination, the little bit of spicy sausage, the coleslaw in there, and a pita bread. I absolutely love the Ronto Roaster. So it's hard for me to get through Galaxy's Edge without, especially if there's nobody in line. Even when I'm not hungry, it's like I'm just gonna go buy one.
That's the great thing about the Ronto Roaster's location is that it's like going to McDonald's. We have the Ronto Roaster, and take care. It's like you don't get a lot of variety there, so it's just give me one of those. Thank you very much, and I'll take one of the drinks that they have. I forget what they call it. I forget the name of it. But yeah, you go there with purpose, and that's what I love about Ronto Roasters is you go there with purpose.
Exactly.
Okay, number 2 is something that I referenced earlier. It's the Mickey shaped pretzel. I love a soft pretzel, a large almost Bavarian style soft pretzel. No matter where I'm going, I love these salty with the mustard. Liz likes her with cheese. You can get that as well. You can mix it up, get a little crazy. But a Mickey shaped pretzel is a perfect snack for me. It's one of my favorite things to eat anywhere, and especially at especially at Disneyland. And it's a great reason, by the way, to go to Coke Corner. Coke Corner is one of the coolest places that you can sit down and feel like you're doing something that's Disney. Sit there with the guy playing the piano in the background, and the fun lights and the chairs, and on Main Street, and it's an amazing Disneyland experience.
It is. That's where I would eat a caramel apple with a fork and knife, because that's how I eat them, because I'm a weirdo. My number 2, Benyon beef skewer.
There you go.
From Bengal Barbecue.
Well played.
It's work. It's work sometimes to get there. Unlike Ronto Roaster, where you just walk right by, and if there's nobody in line, you just go grab one. Because it's never like that at Bengal Barbecue, because it's so darn good. And boy, I tell you what, I could eat my weight in that stuff. That's the kind of snack, or it's not really a meal, but I guess it could be. It's the kind of thing that I would be stuffed on, and if there was still a plate of them stacked up, I would still try and eat the rest of them. They're so good.
You can definitely make that a snack if you just get the 1 or 2 skewers and not make a meal out of it, which I tend to do. I just this last week, and I walked through Adventureland on my way to Jungle Cruise, and all I could smell was the Bengal Barbecue, and that was it. I was done for that day. I knew I was getting Bengal Barbecue when I was done with my ride on Jungle Cruise, and that's a top meal for me. It's as opposed to a treat, but I would never say no to some Bengal Barbecue, that's for sure, or Banyan skewer, whatever your skewer du jour is.
Right. Well, it's like wasabi, where you have a craving for it.
Yeah.
I feel like with the banyan sauce, the skewer. Yeah. And this is, I said snacks. I didn't say treats.
I know, but that's when I say
like
snack,
a piece
I'm
of peanut brittle.
Meal. It's not a meal, right?
I know. But that's what's fun about this, is we don't know. We just see a topic, and we have no idea what's going to come out of everybody's head, and we don't know until we talk about it, which is great.
Well, let me ask you this. Did you think of the cheddar garlic bagel twist at Maurice's Treats in Fantasyland? Don't answer that, because I'm going to talk about how amazing this is. I discovered these, I don't remember, years ago, and I was lucky enough to get one that was super hot and fresh, and it was life-changing for me, because it's some of my favorite flavors all in one. I love, it's a hot bagel, it's got the cheese, it's got the garlic. These flavors all go together so well, and if you get it at the right time, you get it hot and fresh. It is one of the best things that you can ever have. If you're lucky, you can have it with, the Maurice's, what is it, the Boysen freeze, or Boysen, whatever freeze it is. That is one of my secret treats to have at the park that not everybody knows about, because people skip Maurice's Treats on the regular. But I highly recommend you go get yourself a cheddar garlic bagel twist at Maurice's Treats.
I have had them, and yes, they are delicious. I do love them as well. I don't get them as often, because when it comes to ordering that type of thing, I'm a bread-loving fool. I love bread. I love. So my number 1, the Mickey pretzel.
Hey, all right.
Yeah, and also you didn't mention it. You said other places as well, and I agree. So I don't go to a Dodgers game, or a baseball game in general.
Right.
I don't go. Kind of like the obligatory bag of peanuts. I get a pretzel, and of course at the Dodger game you get a Dodger dog. But the pretzel at any sporting event, at any every time we go to Disneyland,
every chance,
every single time I go, we get it. And they always give you the cheese, and I don't want the cheese. I just want the pretzel and mustard. That's it for me. That does the trick for me. And as a matter of fact, when Avengers Campus opened, and I saw that super large Bavarian thing on the menu of the very first
yes.
I couldn't wait to go there. So I went there, and we ordered a ton of food, but I wanted the pretzel also. So it was absolutely impossible to eat everything that I ordered. But I didn't care, because I wasn't leaving without that pretzel.
That's the biggest pretzel I've ever seen.
I know, it's crazy. So David, winners. We got winners. And
we do.
You have some fun gift to give.
As we mentioned last week in our podcast, that a very kind muffin, Mike, gifted us 2 tickets to Oogie Boogie Bash for the 16th, which is next week. And we have a winner. We asked listeners to comment on YouTube or on Apple Podcasts, and we grabbed one randomly out of the bag, and the winner is Kendra Gonzalez. She and her daughter are the lucky winners of the Oogie Boogie tickets. Kendra, I hope you're listening. If you are, contact me directly, david@freshbakedisney.com, and I will just gladly hand over 2 tickets to Oogie Boogie for you.
That is super, super cool. Congratulations, Kendra. Thanks, everybody, for chiming in and commenting and reviewing and just engaging in general. We read it all. We love it all. We appreciate it all. Even though everything's not always rosy, we hear you. Let's put it that way. We hear you. We see it and hear you. That's a wrap, David. That brings us to the end of today's show. So thanks for joining us as always. Thanks for making us a part of your day. Today we got into the new Disneyland since it reopened and all the attractions, rides, foods, mailbag questions about New Orleans Square. And next week, join us back here for the same conversation. New topic.
Yep, we'll be here.
Rate and review us. And until then,
Respect.
Nailed it.
Again, I rule.
Dominated.